Hello friends, welcome back to the Zarathaxx YouTube channel, and this, surprisingly, is not another episode of the Solo Balance Speedrun Challenge, although it does kind of relate into it, so take it as you will. Today I am in Celestia, and no, I'm not just going to be running around and ranting at you guys, but there's actually a purpose for me being on my wizard here, and I say it kind of relates in with my character for a couple of reasons. So, I have finished Celestia. If you look here, this is the quest to Zafaria. I was planning on making my Celestia world quest and doing another episode of the speedrun, getting the ball rolling with that because I'd already did it. But if you remember in my Waterworks video, I was going to at least experiment and try with getting some of the level 60 Atavistic Gear from Celestia. Just as a little recap, a little bit ago, King's Isle released a new gear set to Celestia, namely some of the final bosses of this world, and basically gave you another way to give you Waterworks stats, or like Waterworks equivalent gear if you didn't want to farm Waterworks, in the form of the Atavistic Gear set. So it gave you more bosses to farm, more variety, things like that, and a lot of this gear has pin slots on them, which is really good because a lot of these bosses also drop you a lot of these dual skull pins, and also a lot of stat variety, and it was an honestly really awesome change to the game. When they added the Atavistic gear set into Celestia, they did it with a precursor to it. They didn't want people going too insane with it, so they added a stipulation to the gear. If you go up to this guy named Gearwise in the Celestia base camp, who is right here, right besides the Crustacean Empire in the Science Center, he will have a new option called crafting. And here you can browse all of the different options for you to craft different gear sets, and all of the new jewels, all of the new pins, all that stuff. And overall, this is pretty great. The only caveat they release, so as you can see, I have enough materials here to craft this Atavistic balance band, which would be an upgrade, but they made it badge locked. So if you didn't know, with this new gear set, if you go into your badges in this, you can see that they now tally how many times you kill the bosses. And for the ring, for example, I would have to defeat Queen Calypso 45 times, and once I got that badge, I would then be able to craft this ring if I didn't get it within 45 times of farming her. That's great and all. They gave you a fail-safe system in case you were farming it too much, in case it was, a little bit too, if, RNG wasn't on your side for a little bit, and that would have been great, except they kind of screwed this up a little bit with Celestia, just a little bit. So I'm going to head back to Gearwise here because I wanted to show you the two pieces of gear that I was going for. The Atavistic Balance Staff and the Atavistic Balance Boots. These boots are just a clear upgrade to my Waterworks boots. A lot more block, a lot of crit that I'm missing from there. Pierce, damage, all that stuff overall looks pretty great. And the Atavistic Balance Staff, which would be a much needed upgrade from the Sky Iron Hasta, giving us the same amount of damage, however, lots of block, lots of crit, and most importantly, pierce. So those were the two I wanted to go for, and the Atavistic Balance Staff, and by virtue the Atavistic Balance Cards, which is the deck, both of these are dropped from Big Salgo, who is in this dungeon here in Celestia. You can find Big Salgo in the chancel, or at the end of the very dungeon. He is the final boss that you have to go through this entire dungeon to get to, and then you fight him there. And he has a chance of dropping any one of the Atavistic gear sets, but also he can drop the lower tier or the Bygone set from him as well. There is a problem with this. I am a very unlucky person. I'm going to show you from my badge history here. I have 20 out of 40 Big Salgio defeats, which means I have went through this entire dungeon and gotten to the final boss and defeated Big Salgio 20 times. And as you can see here, I would need that badge bigger than Salgio in order to craft the gear that I would like from Gearwise. So I need the bigger than Salgio badge from the bottom for that, and the deck, right? And this badge that you need changes. So if I wanted to craft the balance boots, I would need the much mightier than Mithraea badge, which Mithraea is the final boss in the Trial of the Spheres, which is an even longer dungeon, but more on that later. The issue I have with this is, as I said, I've defeated him 20 times. So you might think, well, you did it quite a few times, you had to go through this dungeon quite a few times, like, shouldn't have been that bad for you, right? So, I've saved all but I think 2. I accidentally fed my pet 2 of the bygone ones, but I wanted to keep these after I started becoming cognizant of the things I wanted to create here. I got the Atavistic Fire Staff, the Ice Staff, and the Life Staff. And then if we go into my decks here, I have received the Atavistic Death, Fire, Ice, Life, and Storm decks. And at some point I had also received the Myth ones, but I again trashed them because you can buy the Bygone set from the Bazaar, right? So you might say, oh look, you got the Bygone set. This is purchasable from the Bazaar now. They made this option be able to, that you're able to purchase. As long as these ones, right? As well as not only did I get 5 of these 7 schools, none of them being mine, which is balance, I got 3 separate copies of the Atavistic Life cards, which is the deck, right? And then, of course, I get the Bygone Life Tiki and the Atavistic Life Staff, which is 2 of the same things, but yeah. So, in the 20 runs I did, 20, completely solo. I have a 3-hour footage on my computer of me doing these runs over and over and over. I didn't get a single of the Atavistic Balance Staff or the deck. Now the deck, whatever, I really wouldn't have cared if I got it, but the staff, which is, as I showed you, a very, very clear upgrade to the Sky Iron Hosta, was just not there. It just wasn't there. I'm missing out on 60 crit, 35 block, and 4 pierce, as well as some pretty nifty item cards here. All just because it just didn't want to. So if I wanted to be able to craft it, which currently in Wizard101, because of the anniversary that they're doing, it is double reagents, right? So as you can see here, I have more than enough reagents to craft this, right? The Aquamarine you can purchase from any reagent vendor in the Spiral, right? I think even in the Celestia base camp they have them. I have more than enough of these Shark Tooth, which these Shark Tooths you get from defeating any of the bosses that drop this gear. It's basically a reagent so that if and when you need the badge to craft them, they give you a failsafe, so you are able to craft them with this new reagent, right? I could craft 2. I could craft 2 of these Atavistic Balance Staffs, or I could craft 1 of the boots now and 1 of the staff, but if I farm Big Salgio 20 more times to get to 40, I would only be able to craft just the Balance Staff. And then I would need to defeat Mithraya a whopping 45 times. 5 more times than Big Salgio. Why on earth would you lock this behind the final boss of any world, but Celestia in particular, where you have to go through 2 sets of cheating bosses, 4 separate minion fights in the moon section of the final dungeon? Why are we locking this behind 45 defeats of separate bosses? Like I said, if I want to craft this stuff, okay, 20 more runs might not be that much more, it was 3 hours of the original footage I have, so let's say another 3 hours, right? That's still 6 hours for a staff that I'm going to replace in 40 levels when I get to Darkmoor and I'm able to find farm the Darkmoor wands. Not Darkmoor. When I get to Chrysalis and I'm able to farm the Chrysalis wands from Chrysalis Part 2. This is going to get replaced soon enough. And same with the boots. When I would get to Darkmoor, or if I get lucky in Hades dungeon, Tartarus, yeah, these would be replaced too. But it's the fact that I have to go through not one boss of 40 defeats, a separate boss of 45 defeats. And let's say that's not all. Let's say I wanted the full Atavistic Gear set, right? Let's say I wanted to add the Balance Athame, which would give me a lot more block, 1 more damage, 1 more power pip, some nice jewel circle slots. That's an entirely separate boss. The ring, that's an entirely separate boss. Now I will say, Queen Calypso and Praetor, who are the bosses you need for the ring and the Athames respectively, they are just 1 boss fights. I could probably do that in maybe an hour and a half, is go back and defeat Queen Calypso a bunch of times, and Queen Calypso herself even has a respawn there, right? But the fact that you're locking really sought after gear sets behind end of dungeon boss fights and even the final dungeon of your world, 45 Mithraya defeats, and I'm soloing. This is all solo. Again, the footage is there, I have it. But That is insane. Insane of an ask for you to do for people. It's got to the point where I had enough gold to go back and sell my whole backpack, and I just bought a bunch of reagents with my gold. So 97,000 isn't anywhere near where I had, and I can still go back and sell a lot of these, right? But what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna transfer these to my different wizards in case I ever make a fire, an ice, or a life, and I have more than enough here to set them up for that. But I have gained nothing from this. I have gained nothing from this. And I know there's gonna be some haters that are gonna be like,
well, you don't need to do this. This is entirely optional. You're putting yourself through this. You don't need to do any of this at all.
I understand that. I do not need to do any of this. I could very well get through all the way from 71 to level 100 with just these stats right here and my waterworks gear, right? But I wanted to make a very conscious effort because I'm not going to get an Athame upgrade until the level 90 ones from the secret boss or the level 100 Darkmoor ones. I'm not going to get an upgrade to this wand until the level 100 Chrysalis ones. So I was like, I think it's more than enough time that I think it's been enough time that I invest into my character and upgrade, even if it's only a little bit, upgrade some things that would make this character feel a lot better. But the game just has different plans. I just also want to point out how insanely predatory it is. Wizard101 is a children's card game, and it has been consistently advertised for that. I've been playing this game since I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old. My original account was created in like 2013 or something. I've been playing this game for a while, right? And I know I'm in a majority when I say that because there's a lot of people that continue to play this game even well into their adult lives, right? But Wizard101 still markets this game towards a younger audience. Think Caramel, how fun that world was. Think of Novus with how many pop culture references, and even worlds they continue to add with how many pop culture references, and, you know, Lizzo Fire Spitter with the Wizard City revamp, and they keep doing it, right? They're not stopping. They keep adding in references to this game, and do things that are fun, that are children-y, that are lightweight, all that stuff. Like, look at this new pet they just added. Cute, right? Very cute. Not a problem. I don't mind that they do that. But if you're gonna market this game towards children, imagine you're like 13, 14 years old, and you see this new gear, you see someone make a guide, like I have, hyping up this gear, and it is really good gear. It's really, really good gear. But you're gonna lock it behind a badge that requires me to defeat this dude 40 times? Now, again, I know there's gonna be another batch of people that are gonna say,
Well, I can get a group of max wizards. I'm in a guild, and we all talk to each other, and I could get my guild members, and we could do this all in 1 hour.
good for you. Good for you. I know I'm soloing this. I know I'm in this by myself. That's no problem. I don't mind that. But for the people that have no friends, hi. For the people that are wanting to challenge themselves, you're telling me in 20 defeats of this guy's, I didn't receive a single wand or a single deck from my school that I could use that was actually farmed from this dude. But I have more than enough reagents to craft this stuff. I have more than enough fights completed. But no, the game has different plans, I guess. Now, I could go on and on and on about how much I dislike the RNG of this, but to an extent, this is what you're signing up for. You're playing an MMORPG, and you're gonna have to farm things, and you're gonna have to go through this. But I don't even think, with my worst RNG, that I have went through Castle Darkmoor on any one of my wizards and spent over 20 runs in that dungeon trying to get what I needed to get from Castle Darkmoor, which is like hailed as the epitome of power spikes in Wizard101. I don't think I've ever been through that. And it's the fact where Castle Darkmoor, you can get a hat, a boot, a robe, a wand, all from Malistaire himself, which is the final boss, which is how it should be. But if I wanted to get a full set of Atavistic Gear, I would have to go to Praetor Mako, Queen Calypso, where is it? Akaleos here, and probably someone else in the Crustacean Empire, and then 2 of the final bosses 2 final bosses from the end points of dungeons. If I wanted to get anywhere close to a set of this, if I wanted to get a few pieces of it, I would have to farm separate bosses for the entirety of it. That is insane. That is insane. So yeah, I know that was a lot. I know that was a lot of me rambling and venting, kind of, but that was just something I had to get off my chest as I continue to go more and more into this run. I don't even know if in the next coming days, the next coming times I log into Wizard101, if I will even have that motivation or that like hype that I have inside of my bones to be farming for this stuff. And like I was saying in my Waterworks video, like farming for gear and like stat boosting myself and seeing my damage go up and my crit stats go up and all that, that is my bread and butter of playing MMOs. I love playing these games so that I can get stronger, right? But when you lock something behind a very non-lucrative system, when you lock something behind like separate bosses, separate this, 45 defeats here, 35 defeats here, it's demotivating. I don't have infinite time. I don't like spend all of my time doing this. I started, my semester at college this week. I have a part-time job on the weekends. Like, I've got a lot of things going on here, and like this is just, I do not have that much time anymore to be spending days upon days farming one boss for one wand, and then I'd have to go to a separate one and farm a separate one type thing, In my outro here, I also want to offer a solution. So instead of me just like complaining into the void, I'm no game designer at all. I'm just an avid fan of this game, but going through this and experiencing it myself, and again, having to solo through it all and not having the help of like 8 max wizards to just, first round Tempest everything, here's some ideas I have. Number 1, cut the badge requirement in half, 60%, 75%. If you really want to have people like, work for this and like do it, I would say the maximum, the absolute maximum is 20 defeats. And for bosses like Mithraea that are the final boss of the world, if you're going to have a really sought after gear set locked behind that, I would make it like 10 runs max. Like Big Salgio, Queen Calypso, whatever, you could get away with 20, even 25 on those because they are very repeatable. They don't have very difficult mechanics to them. They're not like the most challenging, right? But if you want to lock the main set of gear behind your final boss, do away with it. Get it out. Get it out. I would also make it so that whenever you are farming for this gear set, you're getting gear that matters to you first, and then if you continue farming it, you don't have to get repeats of it. I'm not quite sure how they would code this or put this into the game, but currently when you farm these guys, any of them in Celestia, you are getting gear from every single school. If you were to go and farm Mithraea, and let's say you're a life wizard and you want to have the life Atavistic gear, you have to farm for your life Atavistic hat, robes, and boots amongst the sea of every 6 other schools' Atavistic gear, plus she drops the Bygone gear, which is from the bazaar again, as the tier 2. All of that is in the same loophole, and you have to farm her 45 times before you're able to remotely secure whichever gear piece you want. For a game that markets itself towards children, like I was saying in the beginning, I don't know, that seems really weird to me to want to have children devote that much time to farming this over and over and over. I feel like that's going to lead to some really unhealthy decisions from some people, really bad habits maybe, but I'm no psychologist. I'm not paid to speak on that much, but yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around, and let me know in the comments below if you kind of like this different style of video. As you all know, my balanced speedrun videos, those take hours to complete. Not only am I completing hours worth of footage for each world, but then also editing it down, adding in my images, doing my voiceovers, all that stuff. So this is a nice change for me because it gives me something a little bit more lax to do. But let me know if you like it down below. Please be sure, again, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. We are going really strong with this balanced speedrun, and in the video you saw we already finished Celestia, so keep an eye out for the Celestia World video, and yeah. I hope you all have enjoyed. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.